All right, let's dive right into a classic story about a man who gets everything he ever wanted, only to find out it was completely worthless. We're going to see how his desperate search for meaning gets turned completely on its head by one single radical question.
So just imagine this for a second. What if you knew everything, literally everything, but you felt absolutely nothing inside? That's the exact crisis facing the brilliant scholar we're about to meet, a guy who's reached the peak of human knowledge only to find himself in the deepest pit of despair.
Okay, so our story begins with an aging scholar named Faust. We first meet him in his secluded tower, and he's not in a good place. He's mastered every subject you can think of, but he's just sitting there, weeping, basically drowning in a sea of his own knowledge. I mean, can you imagine? He's mastered every science and art, but his life feels totally empty. It's like he's a ghost haunting his own life, just tethered to this world of shadows. He wasn't really living. He was just existing. It's just so ironic, right? His entire life's quest, this relentless search for total understanding, it didn't lead him to fulfillment. Nope, it led him right here to weeping alone in a tower filled with 10,000 books that offered him zero comfort. So, how does a man who knows everything possibly escape a feeling like that? Well, one fateful night, a solution literally appears out of the shadows. And, when you've hit absolute rock bottom, a deal with the devil starts to sound like a pretty reasonable way out. A shadow actually detaches itself from the corner of the room, and out steps the demon Mephistopheles. He offers Faust a deal, but it's not for your usual stuff like power or riches. It's for something very specific, a cure for his emptiness, a life of pure, unfiltered experience. And here is the core of that deal. Mephistopheles says, listen, I will serve you, I will give you magic, youth, every earthly desire you can imagine, on one condition. If you find a single moment so perfect, so beautiful that you want it to last forever, and you cry out, stay, you are so fair, well then, your soul is mine. Now, this is the really crucial point. Faust isn't just looking for a good time. He's looking for an end to his restless searching. He wants to find a peak of perfection so divine that all his striving can finally end. He just wants to rest. So, of course, Faust takes the deal. For years, he and Mephistopheles go on this wild journey. Faust gets magic, youth, every seething fire of earthly desire he can handle. But here's the thing. None of it works. He's still just as empty as before. And that restlessness leads him to a pretty radical encounter on a mountaintop. This encounter changes absolutely everything. On this sun-scorched mountain, he meets a man named Zarathustra. And this guy, he isn't offering another deal, he isn't offering a god or a path to salvation. He's just offering Faust a mirror. And this is the question that Zarathustra hits him with. It's the core of his whole philosophy, the idea of the eternal recurrence. He asks Faust to imagine that this life, with all its good and all its bad, will repeat itself exactly, an infinite number of times. He completely flips the script on Faust's quest, basically asking, if this journey never ever ends, what's the point of looking for a final rest? And just like that, what we have here is this incredible conflict between two massive worldviews, a battle for the very soul of what it means to be human. Okay, let's break this down a bit. You've got Faust, who's looking for redemption, some ultimate truth from the cosmos. And to get there, he needs an outside helper, Mephistopheles. Zarathustra's worldview is the complete opposite. He demands radical self-reliance. His goal isn't some perfect afterlife. It's about affirming this life, right now, so much that you'd want it to repeat forever. For him, truth isn't something you find, it's something you create. What's really interesting is that the philosopher Nietzsche, who created Zarathustra, saw Faust as a necessary first step. Faust is the man of knowledge who realizes knowledge just isn't enough. He's a bridge leading away from all those dusty books. But Nietzsche very deliberately created Zarathustra to be what comes next, what lies beyond that bridge. So when Faust is faced with this totally radical new perspective, he doesn't just learn a new fact. He goes through a deep, fundamental transformation. His whole life, all his striving with Mephistopheles, he saw it as a journey toward a destination. He was just crossing a bridge, desperate to get to the other side where he could finally find some peace. But Zarathustra teaches him that's the wrong way to look at it. There is no final shore. Man is the bridge. As he says, a rope stretched between the animal and the Obermensch, a rope over an abyss. The value isn't in reaching the end. The value is in the striving, in the crossing itself. And with this new way of seeing things, Faust's hunger for some kind of external salvation just vanishes. He realizes Mephistopheles isn't his master. He's just a tool of his own will to power, his own deep internal drive to grow and overcome. The devil isn't some outside force. He's just part of Faust's own journey. This is Zarathustra's final command, and it completely flips Faust's original goal on its head. Don't wish for a perfect moment to stop time. Instead, build a life so meaningful that you would command every single moment of it to come back again and again. And with that, Faust steps off the bridge he was trying to cross. He rejects that old deal for a final, fair moment of rest. Instead, he begins to climb the mountain. He's not a scholar seeking an end anymore. He's a creator, embracing the eternal journey of becoming. So, the ultimate takeaway from this whole story is this question. It takes a huge philosophical idea and makes it deeply personal. It's asking you not what you would die for, but what you would be willing to live for, again and again, for all eternity.